Hey guys, thanks so much for watching Common Sense Cooking. I'm James. Hope you're having a wonderful day. So you've probably heard of coffee, you've probably heard of tea, whether it's black, green, white. I'm not sure if there are any others. But there are two alternatives native to South and North America. Two alternative plants that can be made into a tea that I want to talk about today. So the first one you've probably heard of. It's very popular in many South American countries, and now, at least around me, I live in Texas, it's become very popular around here too. You see these drinks all around, and that's yerba mate. And so I'm going to make some yerba mate, talk a little bit about the traditional way of drinking it, and then how you might make a single serving in your own home. But then also, you know, if you don't like it plain, talk about some things that you could add into it. My wife likes to make what she calls a yerba mate latte, and it has just a few added ingredients that makes it, you know, pretty good. So I'll show you that. But then we're also going to move to a native plant of North America that you might not have heard of, and that's Yaupon tea. So Yaupon tea is from the Yaupon tree, and it is a relative of the Yerba Mate tree. I think it's the Yerba Holly and the Yaupon Holly. Yaupon comes from a Native American word, and the Native Americans, at least two tribes that I read about, they would make what they called the black drink, and it was a very strong tea made from these leaves. So I'll also show you how to make that. I mean, the making of it is very simple. We'll talk about the flavor profile, some of the things you can do with these. Both of them are very high in antioxidants, B vitamins. They are very healthy alternatives to coffee. I love coffee. You know, I'll keep drinking coffee, especially the dark, you know, Arabic style coffee. But sometimes I really like to try these teas, and I thought I would share them with you. With the Yaupon tea, I'll tell you how to make it, you know, just for a single serving. But I'm gonna actually show you, from what my understanding, how the Native Americans would make it into their really dark, rich tea. I'll show you how to make it that way. So, all right, let's get started. All right, so obviously we're going to need our teas and at least a couple of glasses. We'll go over any additions to that in a moment. So we're gonna start with the yerba mate. And since I'm using a large glass, for, you know, a normal coffee cup or, you know, even a teacup, you'd probably use 1 teaspoon. Since I'm using this larger one, I may use just shy of a tablespoon. All right, maybe that's a heaping tablespoon. And then you need some hot water. You do not want boiling water. Boiling water will reduce the amount of antioxidants and nutrients that it has in it. So with that, I just let the teapot boil up, and then I let it sit for a while. It's probably better to actually pull it off before it gets up to boiling, because, you know, as water boils, it releases oxygen, and it actually can change the flavor of the water and how the water interacts with things. But this is what I did for this video. This is going to steep for about 3 to 4 minutes. And traditionally, a lot of times, the way yerba mate is enjoyed is it's a very communal drink. And so you'd actually take, mate actually means gourd. So think of a hollowed out gourd of some kind. You fill that about 3/4 with these tea leaves, and then you just have a thermos of hot water, and you fill it up. They have these special straws that will filter out the tea leaves, and then you'll drink out of the gourd, pass it along. As it gets low on water, add some more water to it, and, you know, basically just, you know, keep adding water, keep sharing, keep drinking. I've actually done that before. I'll just take my thermos to work and just keep adding hot water to it. But this is a great way if you just want to make a single serving, or if you want to make a yerba mate latte, which I'll show you about in a moment. And this is a good ratio to work with. All right, we'll call that about 3 to 4 minutes. Oh, that worked out much better than I thought. I'm normally terrible at that. Alright, so I'll just kind of talk a little bit about what it tastes like by itself, in case you haven't tried it. So, to me, is that better? Alright, so to me, it tastes very similar to a green tea. A good green tea is going to have a very delicate flavor, and that's why it goes well with jasmine and things like that. If you were to put jasmine in this, it might be pretty good. I mean, if you put a lot in it, but you know, jasmine can kind of have a very delicate flavor, so this would overpower it. So I wouldn't say this is more bitter than green tea, but it is more earthy, and it has I don't know, more of a flavor. You know, there's a time and place for everything. There's, you know, a good time for something very delicate and light, and then there's a good time, which a lot of times mornings, people associate this with mornings, to have something a little more robust. So I think this is a great coffee alternative. You know, somewhere in the middle between the power of coffee and the delicateness of a green tea. So you can put milk in this, you can put honey, you know, all sorts of things. I'm going to show you at least kind of how my wife makes it. She's never really nailed down a recipe that she likes, so I'm just going to put in the ingredients and let you play around with it, figure out how you like the ratios. But we're going to start with just a dash of unsweetened cocoa powder, a little bit of sugar or a sweetener of your choice. I don't really like sweet things, so that was probably too much. But probably like I probably put a teaspoon. I'll let you know how that turned out. And then some almond milk. It's better if you can steam the almond milk, but I'm just gonna put it right in. You can play around with what you like. So this is the Yerba Matte Latte. Yeah, I mean it does what you would think it would do. Yeah, that's really good, actually. The sweetness obviously counteracts the bitterness. I really like the bitterness of tea, so I don't ever want that counteracted. But if you like to balance out your tea with something, then the sweetener obviously balances out the bitterness. The milk makes it very creamy, and actually that works very well with earthiness. If you think of Indian food, it's very earthy, has a lot of earthy spices, but then you might get a curry that has coconut cream in it, and it works really well with the earthiness. That's also kind of a balancing thing, the earthiness with the creaminess. But then the cocoa, I think that combines very well with the earthiness. Creaminess might kind of balance out the earthiness, but then the cocoa really works with the earthiness very well. I really like this, despite being a sweeter drink. I like it. Yeah, so give that a try. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about almond milk. It's funny, I've seen some memes and stuff come out kind of making fun of almond milk, like, you know, God gave us all these animals for milk, and then, you know, so why are we, you know, milking almonds? Actually, almond milk is a pretty old recipe. I took a cooking history course online one time, and apparently at least as far back as Middle Ages, and maybe even before that, I can't quite remember, but I remember in the Middle Ages it was a very established thing for Lenten recipes and Lenten drinking, because you abstain from milk and dairy and stuff during fasting periods, and so you would make some almond milk if you needed to use it in a recipe. Obviously, as you are pursuing the life of the church and fasting and everything, you're probably not as much going to want to just find exceptions and find things that you can replace the old things with. You're gonna work more towards xerophagy and monophagy, and eating very simply. But obviously we live in a very hedonistic culture, or I do, in America. We're used to all these things, so the centuries, millennia-old life of the church, and even a lot of customs dating back to thousands of years before that, with Israel. Some of those things can be very difficult for us because we happen to live in a weird time and place. Almond milk can sometimes be a nice alternative. That's the point. All right, now the less well-known sister, brother, relative to the yerba mate plant is the Yaupon tree shrub, Yaupon holly. You pick the leaves, typically young leaves. There are all these rules for how you pick the leaves, and and roast them and everything, I think that it could be pretty easily figured out. At least it seems like it from my research. So I've considered planting these, even though apparently in the South they can be very invasive, these Yaupon plants, and so people just think of them as a nuisance, but you can make a really nice caffeinated, antioxidant rich, nutrient rich drink out of it. So you might think about that if you do have a Yaupon plant. Maybe look up how to harvest those, and you can make it for yourself, for friends, for family, all of that. But I'm just going to show you. You can make this almost exactly the way I made the Yerba Mate, and that's just, you know, maybe a teaspoon per teacup of water. But I'm going to do what I just recently learned about, the way the Native Americans used it to make what they called the black drink. And so I like bitterness and I like strong things, so this sounds like it's going to be really good. But if you just want a plain black tea, all you do is put a teaspoon per cup of, I believe, boiling water, just fine in this case, and, you know, let it steep for 5 minutes. I think you can also equally steep it in 5 minutes with cold water, or just, you know, room temperature water if you want a cold drink. So that's one of those interesting things where with other teas you have to have hot water. With this one, it at least says you can use cold water. So I've never tried that. You might want to experiment with it. All right, with this one, you're just going to take a pan of some sort, pour in your water, turn on the heat. And with this one, usually you would use about a teaspoon per cup. You want a tablespoon per cup. So considering how much water I put in there, yeah, I'm gonna put a good bit in there because I really want to try this stronger drink. All right, this is starting to boil now. Well, starting to bubble up a little bit. Once we get it to a boil, instead of steeping it for 5 minutes, we're going to boil it for 5 minutes. And with the extra amount of tea and the, you know, stirring in while it's boiling, you're really gonna pull out a lot of stuff. Probably in the Discord chat, in the description of this video, you'll see a link for if you want to join the Discord chat. I'll let you guys know if this is like really strong as far as the caffeine buzz goes. You know, I would have to wait about 20 minutes to know that. I'll put it in the Discord chat whether this gives you a caffeine high, or it has some other things in it that chocolate has that apparently is supposed to make you feel really good. I'll just let you know. So if you weren't using a pot as big as this compared to the water, then you might have issues of boiling up, and you just want to, you know, you can just stir it around, keep it from boiling up, or obviously turn down the heat if it's starting to get out of control. But I'm just gonna keep this on as high of a heat as I can. All right, so that was about 5 minutes. This looks really dark. I feel like I might have successfully made the black drink that Native American stories tell about. All right. All right, so this is the black drink. This is a very strong Yaupon tea. It's a bit too hot to drink, I think, but I can at least get out of the way, maybe compared to that, show you the color of it. It is dark. And it smells very strong. So, I don't know if you've ever been to a Russian banya. If you're in America, likelihood is not very high. But a Russian banya is a sauna. It's a sauna in the Russian style. So one thing that they always have in there, it's usually, you know, wood. Everything is made of wood. It's heated by, you know, wood burning stove. And then you always have these, I think they're birch branches of some sort that are in water. And it's basically like, as hot as the sauna is, it's basically making a tea out of those birch leaves. So it has a very distinct smell. It smells very foresty, very clean, very fresh. I love the smell. And the first time I made this, I was like, this is almost exactly the same smell as the Russian banya, which takes me back to one of my favorite places. I've never been to Russia, but I have been to a Russian banya here in Texas, so that's my experience. Let's try it. Oh, it's still very hot. Whoa. Very bitter. and less flavorful. Yeah, it doesn't quite have as much flavor as if you were to just steep it instead of boiling it for 5 minutes. I kind of like it. There's something about really strong bitter flavors that, I don't know, make me feel good. It's strange. So I really like this. I have a feeling it would be an acquired taste for most people. I mean, you've got to give it a shot. I mean, you don't have to, but Yaupon tea is really delicious. If you just make it, you know, steep it for like you would another tea. But I mean, definitely this is worth a try. And you know, if you make it and you just can't stand it because of the bitterness, just add some honey or sweetener of some sort. Maybe add some milk or something creamy to balance it out. That would probably be really good. I'm gonna drink it like this. I like this. Ooh, still hot. All right, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. You know, thank you for subscribing if you've done that. If not, you know, click that subscribe button. Click like next to this video if you want to support the channel. Right now, that really helps me to get to my goal. And so definitely, if you want to be part of the Discord chat, right now there's not a lot of activity. Once we get some more people in, that's pretty much all it takes to have a good conversation. Thank you guys so much. You have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless.